Hi there. I appreciate everyone's engagement on the introduction and discussion board assignments. Make sure you get going with that homework if you have not done so already. We're already getting going into the semester and you don't want to fall behind. Try to keep a regular cadence of logging in, doing some work, knocking some things out, and just keep a nice continuous pace of work. Having said that, with our recent introductions being graded, I wanted to offer a coaching opportunity for anyone willing and able to sort of view this announcement, which is a lot of times these introductions can be sort of canned and are really generic in the academic setting, but it's sort of prepping you for the introductions that you'll do later within your career, specifically in cases like a job interview, right? And a lot of those job interviews are taking place virtually now. And so whether you did a written reply to your introduction or whether you recorded a video, sometimes it required different things of different courses. It's a great opportunity to practice sort of vocalizing who you are, getting across, you know, why you're there, and ultimately why I or a hiring manager should hire you, right? Because that's sort of like the end game. Now, I'm going to do a brief introduction of myself, and I'll sort of do it how I would do in a generic job interview. Hi, my name is Brett Yancey. I'm currently the Intermodal Pricing Manager for the Union Pacific Railroad. I price all of our door-to-door products for intermodal 53-foot containers, and I do this for all these service products across our entire network. All in, it's about 57,000 different service products with unique permutations. And I also own our private asset pricing, which is basically when a customer owns their own box and wants to move it within the UP network. I've been doing this for about 18 months, and prior to that, I was on the carload logistics teams where I owned some of the largest metals producers in the world and their supply chains, specifically that rail segment, but ultimately also the final leg in that we would offer a transloading service to specific customers who wanted to move onto truck and then ultimately to destination. I did that for about 3 years. And before that, I was with a railroad signal contractor where I was a project manager, estimator, and proposal writer for railroad signal projects. And that could be as something as simple as installing a railroad crossing, what we call a highway grade crossing warning system, or something as complex as a $100 million signal system that's going to run from Dallas Fort Worth Airport to Plano, Texas, and the wayside signal system and all the crossings that would accompany that. While I was doing that role, I completed my MBA at University of North Florida, graduating at the top of my class. And before that, I earned my undergrad, my bachelor's in maritime administration from Texas A&M, graduating first in my class, magna cum laude with honors, and then end, right? And so what I did was I just talked about my experience, talked about my academic accomplishments, sort of gave a brief high-level overview of my skills, and also I did it in a way that wasn't scripted at all. Now, granted, I've said that I don't know how many times, but the moral of the story is the more you practice, the better you get. And if you're able to sort of come across sort of naturally in these introduction scenarios, in these potential interview scenarios, then that's going to be points that wind up on your board, right? Um, a lot of times, especially since all these interviews have turned virtual, you don't want to come across as reading something scripted, right? And you also don't want to oversell yourself and oversell your skills because a good hiring manager is going to ask probing questions that really drill down into whether or not you're the expert that you're claiming you are. And so don't oversell yourself on skills that you don't have, right? And that gets, they can get really technical with their probing questions. So that's one piece of advice. The other piece is within these scenarios, what are you in control of, right? You control what you're saying, how much you practice beforehand, what sort of interview prep you do, what sort of canned interview questions that you practice on, right? That's all good things to do. But also, um, you can control what that interviewer sees, right? And so what I've chosen to let you in any potential communications that I do via video conference, what I allow that audience to see is basically me my chair, and pretty generic background, right? It looks clean. In reality, it's not. Okay, remember, it's just this frame that we're looking at, and so all I want in that frame is a couple of pieces of paper that are diplomas, right? A little train on a looks like an old wooden stump that I got at an art show. Just a clean, undistracting sort of look, right? The more clutter or the more things that your audience can look at, the more easily it is for that audience to get lost in your message. So that's one piece of feedback that I'll just leave out there. Outside of that, no, I think everyone's doing a great job. Please keep it up. Please keep with the engagement. I'm going to go ahead and submit that census here in a second, and I hope you all have a great night. Thank you.